Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to this latest episode. So sit back, relax, grab your cigar, maybe a drink, and enjoy. What's up, cigar family? Thank you so much for joining me for another Friday video. Really glad to get into it with you guys. As you can see, I'm kind of moving things around, trying a new setup arrangement, seeing if it works. Feels pretty comfortable right now, at least at the moment, and who knows, that may be subject to change in the future. But just hanging out here in my studio, shooting another video for you guys. And I mentioned it before, I love making content for all of you. It is so much fun for me, and I really hope you guys get something out of it. If you do, please let me know in the comments. I want to have a discussion with you in the comments. Tonight I am smoking the GTO Corona 10 Años Corojo single, and that leads me perfectly in my next point. I mentioned before that I love making content for you guys. You know what else I love? I love boutique cigars. Honestly, I can't get enough of them. So why do I love them? Well, we're going to get into that in a second. So get comfortable. We're going to hang out, smoke some boutique cigars, hopefully. And yeah, we're going to have a good time. So cue that music. Hey everybody, you are watching Dad Smoking Cigars, sponsored by StogieLives.com and Casa Cuevas Cigars, from our Casa to yours. Thank you so much for joining me for another Friday video. Now, I mentioned before that I love boutique cigars. Now, for the longest time, I think early in my cigar journey, I was smoking what a lot of people smoke, what a lot of you probably smoke right now. And that is kind of the bigger name, more well-known name cigars. Brands like Cohiba, Arturo Fuente, Montecristo, and so many others. What would probably be considered like heritage brands. Heritage brands are brands that have been around for years, and I think the ones that I mentioned are kind of along those lines because they've been around, some of them for well over a century. And I remember when I first started smoking cigars, the first cigar I smoked was, I've mentioned it before, was a Kojimar. I think it was a Blue Moon. It was a vanilla tipped or vanilla flavored sugar tipped cigar, and I loved it. It was really good. Kojimar could be considered a boutique brand. It's a smaller brand, but it is still a very good brand, and even though they make flavored cigars, the quality is top notch. Not everybody's into flavors, but if you wanted to pick a flavored cigar, you can't go wrong with Kojimar. Now, right after that, I started smoking Cohibas, because I remember my dad kind of recommended Cohibas to me. He said he'd smoked them. He said he liked them, and of course I was going to go along with whatever my dad was recommending to me, just because it was my dad. And he'd been smoking cigars longer than I have. Not much longer at that point, but still longer than me. I was just getting started. So I pretty much rolled with all these popular brands, but I mostly stuck to Cohibas, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I remember that summer that I started smoking cigars. I was 19 years old. It was 2003, and that was when Bad Boys 2 came out. And I remember one scene where, like, the main villain, who was a Cuban himself, he's inviting his Russian gangster counterpart over, and he recommended that they break out the Cohibas, and I'm like, yeah, I smoke Cohibas, that must mean I'm so cool, which it really didn't, but I felt cool in the moment, because I'm thinking, yeah, they're gangsters, fictional gangsters, but still, and they're smoking Cohibas, so why wouldn't I think that's awesome? For years, though, I would never ever hear the phrase or the word boutique in regards to cigars. Boutique cigars is a phrase I would be unfamiliar with for many, many years to come. Not until just about 3 years ago, when I started to really get more into cigars, smoke more frequently, and I would enjoy all different kinds, especially the kinds that I would see displayed on social media after starting the Dad Smoking Cigars Instagram. And that's when I started finding out about brands like Casa Cuevas, United Cigars, and a number of others that are considered boutique brands, because while they're doing very well for themselves and they are making themselves household names in the cigar industry, the reality is that prior to 3-4 years ago, some of these brands that I honestly would swear by and I recommend to people, they'd never been heard of. They probably didn't exist X amount of years ago, but now they do, and they're very popular and they're very good, and they're ones that I smoke as often as possible. Obviously, Casa Cuevas being the sponsor of Dad Smoking Cigars, I continue to smoke them very proudly, not just because of their generosity in sponsoring this channel, but because they are quality cigars. They are great in regards to flavor, construction, everything put into them is just a labor of love, and it is a family affair. The Cuevas family having been, involved in tobacco and cigars for pretty much over 100 years, 5 generations, with Alec, Luis Cuevas' son, being the newest addition to this business from the family. And it is just a remarkable story behind the brand. That's another thing I love about a lot of these brands, smaller brands especially, because even though the heritage brands have a lot of history behind them, and it's really cool history, some of these smaller brands, I love hearing the stories of how they got started. Some of it's been family affair for many years, a business that they've been into for decades upon decades. Others, it was just something they became passionate about, and they decided they wanted to start their own cigar brand, and it's always a fun thing to hear about. But that's part of the reason why I love boutique brands, is because there is so much passion, there's so much love poured into the product, the cigars that we smoke. As I mentioned before, I'm smoking the GTO Corona 10 Años Corojo single, and it is a delicious, delicious cigar. I'm not going to go much into the makeup of it, other than I'm pretty sure you can guess it's Corojo wrapper. It's pretty much primarily Dominican tobacco in the binder and filler. That's just the basic description of it, and it is a delicious smoke so far. I've smoked a couple different GTO cigars. I had a wonderful conversation with Dr. Oscar Rodriguez, who is the owner of GTO Cigars, some months back, and he was kind enough to send me a sampler, and I've been kind of letting these rest and sit in my humidor just because I didn't want to go through them too fast, even though I know cigars are meant to be consumed, and especially these beauties and all the different boutique cigars that I've had the pleasure and privilege of being able to try. These were ones that I did not want to go through too quickly just because they're so good, and I just wanted to hold on to them for a little bit longer. Tonight seemed like a great night to bust one of these out, and appropriately so, because I honestly was wondering what kind of video I was going to make tonight. I was toying with a few different ideas, but I wanted to just talk about, once again, my love of boutique cigars, because there's just a uniqueness behind them, and I honestly, and this is just my own palate, my own opinion speaking, my own experience, I honestly feel like a lot of boutique brands can truly rival some of the bigger names in cigars, some of the ones that I just mentioned at the beginning of the video. The heritage brands that have been around for so long, not that they aren't good, but unfortunately, in my experience, and when you come with talking about popular cigars and stuff like that, cigars that have been around a very long time, and there's an increasing demand all the time for people to smoke these cigars because of the prestige behind the name. They're cranking them out like crazy, and sometimes quality can suffer. I have heard of a number of people who have smoked certain brands that are very popular, very big. They may not necessarily be heritage brands, but they're very popular, so they have a high demand. With that high demand comes high production, so that way they can meet the demand. And unfortunately, sometimes quality can suffer, because I've known people who have smoked that same brand in years past and they loved it, but then recently, as these cigars are coming back out and they're buying them because they're a go-to cigar for them, they're saying like, yeah man, they're not as good as they used to be, and I think that's because they're just cranking them out a little too fast. I've said the same thing about Cuban cigars. When you say Cuban cigars, people kind of have this, those who haven't smoked them anyway, they have this idea of like it's kind of a taboo thing. It's kind of a thing that is just super unique and special. And granted, I have had some killer Cubans in the past, but for the most part, I only have one out of every so many that are actually very good. And I have had boutique cigars that are honestly leaps and bounds better than some of those cigars that I've mentioned before. And I can't quite say exactly why that is. It could be a number of things, but I believe that there's far more attention and love being given to the boutique brands because they are smaller. They can afford to take a little bit more time with their product. they may be getting an increasing demand for their product because they're becoming, bigger and more popular. But at the end of the day, they still want to make sure they're putting out a quality product. And that's why boutiques, I believe, in my experience, they just have a little bit, just a something to them, something great, something wonderful, something delicious. This cigar that I'm smoking right now, this GTO Corona 10 Años Corojo Single, I know I keep saying the full name, but that's what it is. And it is a delicious cigar, and I'm not even a third of the way into it, and it's already kind of rocking my world tonight. I think I've been needing this cigar for the last few days. I've had some great ones. Some of my go-tos are always fantastic, and I always have a great experience with them. But for some reason, this cigar is hitting a little different in a way that I didn't expect, and it's very, very good. Boutique cigars have just evoked such pleasant experiences in my life over the last 3 years as I've continued to broaden my horizons with cigar smoking, trying new brands. I love trying new brands. I love finding new brands. It's kind of a fun little scavenger hunt thing for me, and it is just something I enjoy immensely and take great pleasure in. And it has developed my palate into what it is today, trying the cigars that I've gotten to try. And I've been privileged to connect with some great brands, some wonderful manufacturers who have been very kind, generous, and just really amazing. And it's also something I love sharing with people, new brands that I've come to enjoy, sharing them with my friends, my family. My dad, once upon a time, did not trust my taste in cigars because I tried sharing a couple with him that he wasn't really all that fond of. And as time went on and my palate began to develop more and I began to enjoy much better quality cigars, he began to trust me in regards to my taste in cigars. And a number of the brands that I enjoy, he continues to buy and enjoy himself. So that's something I'm actually very proud of, because as my cigar journey has developed, my palate's developed, and I've come to appreciate what good cigars really are, I'm able to share that love with other people. So it's a blast, honestly. I love a good heritage brand every now and then. Every now and then I bust out one that might be in my humidor. I don't have too many of them, but I enjoy a good Arturo Fuente, a good Monte Cristo, good Cohiba. I haven't had a good Cohiba in ages, if I'm being perfectly honest, but every now and then I like to try, have one of those just because, it's a taste of history. But I absolutely love boutique cigars. The majority of my humidor is full of them. So, and I will continue to look for new brands and enjoy new brands of boutique cigars. The smaller brands deserve your attention. Small businesses are just booming so much in the United States, and when it comes to the cigar industry, there are so many smaller brands that are making a name for themselves, and they're definitely worth your time and attention, and I really hope you'll check them out. I'm going to go ahead and leave some links to a few of my favorite boutique brands in the description down below, so you guys can check them out. If you haven't really gotten into boutique brands, I highly recommend that you do, because there are so many hidden gems out there. Many of them become my favorites now. But anyways, guys, I just kind of wanted to have a monologue, discussion, whatever you want to call it, to kind of share my love of boutique brands, why I smoke them, because there's just so much goodness in so many different smaller brands you may have never heard of, and you probably heard me talk about them ad nauseum on Instagram, here on YouTube, and elsewhere. But the fact remains is that there are so many good smaller brands out there, and I highly recommend you get into boutique cigars if you haven't already and enjoy them. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for joining me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. Share some of your thoughts, some of your favorite boutique brands. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and also follow Dad Smoking Cigars on dads_smoking_cigars on Instagram, and be sure to check us out on Facebook. Until then, guys, stay smoky, and I'll see you in the next one.